So after I talked to you guys, I had about 90K and I got moved to a pretty good table, but there was one really good player there. I noticed he was like not afraid to get involved, and that's such an important quality in the main. Like, you have to be willing to gamble, because if you are, then you're gonna be opposed to all the people who are trying to just be cautious, and you're gonna pick up lots of chips. So I noticed that about him, and I just got really fortunate to get into a 4-bet pot with him with aces. He actually cold 4-bet me from the big blind. And the flop was all hearts, Jack 10, 5, and with a 7 on the turn. So he jammed to me on the turn. And yeah, so that turned out really well. He actually had kings with no heart, so really couldn't get any better than that. I did not immediately snap on the turn, so it was a bit of a nit roll. I think the interesting thing about the nit roll is that the definition of a nit roll is when there are hands in your opponent's range that are worse for value. That's obviously, if your opponent just doesn't have any bluffs, it's not really a nit roll. Like, there are some opponents in the main where they have no bluffs. Therefore, you can really think about it even with the really top of your range. But if they're actually doing it for worse for value, that's when it's a nit roll. So the definition became very, very clear to me after that hand. And after that, it was up and down, but there was one really very funny hand that was quintessential main event hand history. I open under the gun at a table where, everybody's having some fun. I got ace king suited, the big blind 3-bets me. I make it 3K at 612 too, and he makes it 35,000. So he 12.5x's 3-bet me, and I'm like, oh God. We have 120 bigs behind. So although with this 3-bet size, we're gonna have only a pot and a half when it gets called. So I fold. I mean, you just kind of have to fold there in the main event. This is also a guy who had limp folded deuces to, he limped and then somebody just 3x'd and he just folded, and he shows deuces. So I really thought that the chances of him having aces and kings there were too high, and I was really lucky because later in the evening he did tell me that he had aces, and the story checked out because he did not have the ace that I had in my hand. So it worked out pretty well. It's nice to feel like you made the right fold in that spot, since it's so ridiculous, of course, in theory. I ended day 2 with around 155, and I actually chipped up a bit on day 3. I was up to 230 or something. I had some really nice 3-bet pots that I won, but the thing about the main is that even when you have a lot of what seems like a lot of big blinds, the levels are very long and the day is very long, and you shouldn't you just sometimes, even though you've been grinding for a while, you just lose 2 pots in a row, and that can be the end. And that's basically what happened to me. I lost ace king suited to ace queen suited all in pre-flop, and then soon thereafter I got into a spot against a really good player at the table who was very aggressive, and if anything, maybe I felt like looking at some of his showdowns, he was over bluffing, had more bluffs in his range than he should, just based on some of the showdowns. And blind versus blind, I opened and he called. And the flop was queen 4-3 with 2 clubs. I have queen 10. We're about 40 bigs deep now after I lost that ace king suited hand, and yeah, he raised 3x my c bet, and we just get it in, and he has queen 4, which I mean, I don't really blame him for calling that pre, because he is in position and the antes are big at the WSOP. It just kind of the whole hand kind of makes sense, but that's why I'm out.